internets won't fail me.
And a lot of times what we do is SMB exec has a binary creation with binary obfuscation, and it creates an RC file for you in Metasploit. So it'll have everything set up for you. All you got to do is run the RC script, and it'll set up your listener perfectly.
And just real quick, I just want to show you what we do to bypass. So you'll see here my victim machine right here is fully patched Windows 7. McAfee status is okay.
Status is okay.
And I'm not picking on McAfee, it's what I got.
This is our corporate.
This is my corporate VM. And I want to show you that this little piece of shell script right here, I don't know who in here's actually a coder, but this little piece of shell script right here is all I use to bypass this AV. So basically I create a payload, I come down here and I set out some bad characters, then we come down here and do a little bit more sed magic. We do a little bit of randomization of the bytes in here, we break it apart in some C files, and then we come back down here and we compile it back into an EXE, and that's it. I mean, this is like 30 lines of code that I'm gonna bypass McAfee's AV with.
And that's, like I said, that's within SMB exec. So.
All right, so coming over here to our listener, we do Metasploit. Once again, this is not revolutionary. We're basically just starting a handler, HTTPS. That's really it.
And we spool everything too, because of course the customer wants to see what's up. So that's also a CYA for you.
All right, so we'll get that guy going. It takes a second. Metasploit rocks, but it's a little slow. I think I skipped something, but oh well. Anyway, so you can see over here while that's starting up, we have our webmail over here in our Google templates. Got it ready to go, or GoDaddy templates. The only bad part about GoDaddy is that you can only do 75 or so emails at a time, I think, so that's kind of annoying. And you have to go through a CAPTCHA every time.
So what we do too is, so when we send this, in the to line, of course, we're not gonna put ourselves, we just put like employees at whatevercompany.com. We know that's gonna get kicked back, that's fine. There's only certain people who can send to the entire organization. But again, it's that level of trust when they look and say, oh, went out to all employees, because we put everything in BCC. So one of the tips and tricks too to make this easy, if you've got 100 emails, GoDaddy doesn't parse it when you put it in there, but if you copy and paste it into Gmail, it'll automatically separate it out based on spaces, not commas. So it's much easier to copy and paste it in there.
So we're gonna send that email, and I'm actually sending that to my Akivon address, because we got protection, right?
Yeah.
Oh, or maybe not.
That's right,
So,
that went through our, our spam filter.
That went through my company's spam filter, whatever we got. And because it's legit, reverse DNS worked, right? So anyway, so here's our email. That looks legit, right? We'll check over here and make sure.
The footer at the bottom. So.
Yeah, we got the footer. See, the thing is that it's little stuff like this. When people see this, you know, like if you have the little recycle thing or no digital trees were harmed in this email or whatever, like people see that and they're like, oh, it's legit, it came from my company.
Right, and we're mentioning that you can't have any unauthorized use, so obviously this is not unauthorized use. It has to be legitimate.
And once again, see, you'll click on the link, and it doesn't matter that the link is completely wrong. It matters that the link and the part that comes up when you hover over it are the same. I know it sounds stupid, but that's like what what we look for.
Yeah. Yeah, think like we were saying earlier, that's what users are trained to look at, right? See where the link actually goes.
All right, so let's check it out. We're hoping this works.
So this is cool. What we got, of course, we're using, I used set to clone the site, then I did some changes within it, and it's gonna pop the Java applet cert, hopefully.
Hopefully. It's on my MiFi, so it's a little bit slow, but
it's still thinking about it. It's loading up Java. But what we do is I set it up. Okay.
So here we go.
So, and look, it says safe really big and bold. So again, we're good to go.
We're verified. See our company, Verified Publisher, LLC. That sounds legit, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can register a company called anything they want to.
And one thing you can't see is that always trust content from this publisher, at least on this screen. It looks like it's not checked, but it is. That's another thing about these digitally signed Java applets, is that box is automatically checked.
It's automatically checked. For some reason in IE9, I'm also on IE9, by the way. I'm fully patched Windows 7, did I mention that? Anyway, McAfee, the whole 9 yards, I got it all. And so, like Eric said, this box is auto-checked. For some reason, it's not showing up in here or whatever. But
And what's cool too is like if Martin clicked cancel, it doesn't matter because I've set a repeater, so 7 seconds later it'll pop back up. And the reason we give it 7 seconds and not an immediate pop is we're doing credential harvesting too. So it does give them some time to enter their username and password. And you know, that's at least a start for us.
Right.
But it'll keep popping up until they either click run or are able to click that login button and get to the next page.
So we basically, on this, we have 3 attack vectors: the Java applet, the login credentials, and if all else fails, we actually get emails back sometimes.
Yes.
I can't log into the site. And we're like, oh, cool, did you click the trouble logging in button and run help desk exe and then I can help you? And they're like, okay. And so there's 3 attack vectors. You can even add more. You can make it go to a PDF, a Word document, whatever you want to, but you know, to have the actual security report. But for the sake of this, we just did those 3. So I'm gonna click run because it's verified. And then over here, I have my interpreter shell. So
now that we have our shell, what are we gonna do?
all right, so here's some things to consider, right?
We just killed a kitten, by the way. Just for your guys' benefit.
Email and attachments. Do you know the sender? I know that this gets harped on in user education, but this is what we're talking about. We have been talking about don't open an attachment on an email you don't know for like since email was invented, probably.
But they know it because it's all verified and
But they
safe,
know, but
so.
the thing is that if you make it look legit, they'll still do it, you know? So that leads me to believe that user education is not working, right? It's not working. It's not a good place to spend our money.
Don't put all your chips on users. Right?
Can the information being asked for used to attack you or your company? You know, I mean, these are simple things. Is the link suspicious or raising any flags? IT or security would never ask an associate for the password. These are the things we talk about in user education, and these are the things that users are not paying attention to, unfortunately. So, you want to talk about the exposure? Oh, I'll do it. So limiting the exposure is the biggest thing. It's not if the attack's going to happen, it's when the attack's going to happen, right? And so if we can't do anything about our users clicking on the links, right? We can't do anything about that. So what's the next thing that we can do? We can mitigate what happens during the attack, right? So we can mitigate how far the people can get once they're in the network. We can mitigate what types of business units are network segmented off. So Eric's going to talk about that on the next slide. But the number one thing, I know this is totally stupid, but it's update. You know, most security people like us, when we find vulnerabilities, we do what's called responsible disclosure, which is when an Adobe 0-day is found, you contact Adobe and you're like, hey, I found a bug in your code. Here's, you know, the research. I'm going to give you 6 weeks to fix this before I publicly release it. So that generally is what happens.
And then you get slapped with a cease and desist, of course. And
well, there is that. But so the main thing is keep your stuff updated. I hate updating Windows. I can't stand it. I like to skip it all the time. But unfortunately, that's how it works. They push some of this stuff out in updates. So the more you can update your stuff, the better. I know it sounds silly, but it's true.
okay, so as Martin started talking about, limiting exposure, right? So beyond user awareness, basically we've got user awareness at the bottom, but think about it. I've got 10,000 emails I harvested. I know they're legit. I'm going to send you this email. At least one person, if not more, out of that list is going to click on that link. So if you think about it, before we got the shell, how many layers of checks and balances does that shell go through before it actually gets to you, right? The user clicking on the link or giving credentials, yeah, that's bad. But so what? You've got to be responsible for securing your network. And if you're not looking at these different layers, like if you think about it, the user clicks the link. First thing is AV. Did AV catch it? No. Do you have a host-based IPS? Did that catch it? No. Do you have a network-based IPS? Did that catch it? No. Do you have egress filtering? Did that catch it? No. Do you have a bunch of blinky light systems? Did they catch it? No. So basically what you're looking at is limiting the exposure within the organization once this happens enough so that you can actually find out what happened, prevent them from getting to the goods like the Wendy's secret sauce or whatever it is, whatever trade secrets you're looking to protect. And You can do this by basically looking at things like network segmentation, right? I don't know how many times I've been on a pen test where I get on one box and I can see all the boxes throughout the world, right? There's no segmentation, totally flat network. Well, that's going to allow the attacker, once we get on that one box, to just spread out. We know that if we get one set of credentials and we're on one box, all the dominoes are going to fall. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow.
And see, it doesn't make sense. See, if you think about it in business units, you know, you have an HR department. I love to harp on the HR department, sorry. But so you have an HR department. What do they really need to do? You know, all they need to do is get out to the internet. There's probably one or two internal applications that they use to enter employee information or whatever, and they need to contact Active Directory to be able to log in. Do they really need to do anything besides that? No. So why don't we as companies segment that business unit off way over here? See, because their job is not security. Although user education is awesome and it's like the nirvana of security, if we could just get all our users to hold hands and be on the same page, everything would be great, but that's not the way it's going to happen. And so it's not their job. Their job is to hire people. Their job is not security. That's our job. So we have to think of ways that we can keep them doing their job and keep them from not getting attacked like this. And so, like I said, network segmentation is our biggest one, and we don't see it enough.
Yeah. A lot of times there's not really proper egress filtering in place. Standardizing antivirus implementations. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, and it kills me to say this, but I can honestly tell you guys that the biggest thorn in our side is Microsoft Security Essentials for home users and Forefront for business. I hate saying that, but our theory is that Microsoft has access to the source code so they can do extra checks and balances. Of course, we do have ways of getting around that, but that's definitely the biggest thorn in our side. We have to use paid tools to actually bypass their AV. You know, are you doing binary packet inspection? If something's going on 443, is it really the right traffic that should be going on that port? You know, are you using something where you can actually get in the middle of that communication, something like a blue code or something that's going to analyze those packets? Two-factor authentication. I don't know how many times, and if you guys want to raise your hands, go ahead. But OWA, outside on the internet without two-factor authentication, how many companies have that? I saw one hand.
Takers.
Yeah, no takers on that one. But like we're saying, we harvest the credentials, boom, we're out on OWA. We've got a script that dumps the rest of the list from the global address book, and now we just, you know, we can build another campaign at that point in time. You know, there's all kinds of ways to get around everything that's there, so you have to really think as an attacker.
And I do have user awareness on that list, but you'll notice it's at the bottom. Because there is something to be said for user awareness. It's just that, are we spending half of our security budget on user awareness? If we are, it's not working.
Right. So summing it all up, right? User awareness should not be the goal of any social engineering testing. And one thing that we didn't talk about was social engineering is the #1 most political test that you will ever do as a pen tester, because human nature amongst all of us is completely different. We constantly do, people who have been in the industry for 19 years and this and that, and I've done it all. They don't take it very well when they get phished and they fall for it. In fact, we recently had an engagement where it was up for a couple hours. We were able to phish a bunch of people, and boom, they made us take the site down immediately.
They tried to sue us for using their logo. They made us transfer the domain to them. I mean, it can be bad, but the reason is that you got a C-level person that got phished, you know, and they don't like it. And so those are the people that are impeding the security of your organization. You know, they're impeding because they got embarrassed, and they don't care about fixing whatever happened. They just care about covering it up.
So we can say to you, if you are going to be involved in this from a pen tester's point of view, or if you are involved in this as a director pitching it to your organization, get buy-in as high up within your organization as you can. Because people, I'm sure, do get fired over stuff like this. People definitely get in trouble. You know, and the testing should encompass all aspects of defense, like we were talking about. It's not just the users. You want to see, you're spending all this money to put all these things in place and have this staff. You know, is your money being spent properly, right? Ensure the money that you're budgeting for or spending already within the organization is going to the right place. If you do a full phish with malware and everything like we just showed you, you're going to know, here's where it got caught, here's where it didn't get caught, you know, or I spent $1 million on this new blinky light thing and it actually worked. how are you actually going to know that the money that you're investing in your defenses is going to work unless you test it, right? And that's a huge task that we're up against as pen testers all the time.
I mean, absolutely, we can do that, and we have done that in several companies.
Oh, the question was, can you do that without embarrassing the users?
Meaning, can we just come in an organization and set this up specifically and test all of the outbound defenses? And yes, absolutely we can. And we have done that several times. One of the keys here that I like to say, and they'll probably kill me at my work, but don't let the company that installed the stuff test it. Get somebody else to test it. Or at least another group, I mean, anyway, so yes, we can absolutely do that in a sticky situation for sure.
Questions, contact info. He's Pure Hate, I'm Bravo Hacks on the Twitters. Anybody? Yes.
So when you've been in an engagement where you've been given access to do whatever testing you want to do, as nasty as you want to be.
That's very rare.
Sure.
Very rare.
But just so, have there been situations where you don't get in?
No.
I would say no.
No.
Okay.
It sort of depends, because there's some different facets of everything. You know what I mean? Because what we found is that every single company's version of the whole
Do
enchilada
whatever.
is a little bit different.
Yes.
So for example, if they allow this type of attack, the email attack, we always get in, and we've never had it not fail. If they allow physical pen or social engineering, almost always get in. So it basically just depends. But if it's just limiting us to an external engagement with no social engineering, then there's several times we haven't got in for sure.
We've had one company tell me and Martin do whatever, and I guarantee we'll probably never be invited back to that organization because we did whatever, of course within the defining of the SAL. But
Right.
They said, we want the whole enchilada, and we told them. In fact, one of the things that we did during that engagement was, it was a physical, so we had to break in the building too. So once we got in, we did this entire spear phishing scenario internally. So they had an open mail relay. So if you guys run scanners and you see that there's an open mail relay and it's a medium, that's bullshit. It's a critical. Because someone who gets in that door and can send emails out as anybody within the organization without any authentication, basically you can do this entire scenario internally. And the reason the trust level on that is so high is all I have to do is rename my computer to secure, and the DNS takes care of the rest. If they look at me, I'm on an internal IP address. It also gives you the ability to clone internal portal sites, which again look super legit. At that one site that we talked about where they said go ahead and do whatever, basically we set this up and let it fly, and within 5 minutes they asked us to take the site down. We had over 300 users log in, and that was within an internal scenario. Any other questions from the group? Thank you guys very much. If you guys have any questions about this or Man in the Middle. Oh, did anybody guess the song? No. No. Rage Against the Machine. Know your enemy. Thank you.